Welcome to Disrupt Health Tech, the podcast where we dive deep into the innovations transforming healthcare. I'm your host, Wendy Austin, and today's segment is a part of a 6-part series titled Building Health Tech from Concept to Care. Within 6 episodes, we'll peel back the layers of what it truly takes to bring groundbreaking health technology to life, from the initial spark of the idea through vigorous clinical validation, smart product management, strategic sales, effective marketing, and powerful analytics. We'll cover the entire life cycle. So whether you're an entrepreneur, an investor, a healthcare professional, or simply curious about the future of medicine, this is your essential guide to understanding how health tech moves from visionary concept all the way to delivering real-world care. Let's get started. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Disrupt Health Tech. I am your host, Wendy Austin, and today we're going to talk about how to productize healthcare data and analytics, 2 of my favorite subjects. I have the privilege of having another podcast host on with me today, Elena Putilina. Elena, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about your experience and your podcast twinning strategy?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Wendy. First of all, thank you for the invite. I love podcasting, and this is a great opportunity to be a guest. So thank you for having me.
No problem.
I also love the subject. I love healthcare data and AI and productizing it. So we can definitely geek out on that one. So I'm excited. And I'm a fellow podcaster, as you mentioned. I run a podcast with 2 friends who happen to be twins, and that's why the podcast is called Twinning Strategy. And our podcast is focused on scaling businesses. That is from what tech it takes, to what skills it takes, to what leadership traits it takes, to business models, to founders. Very exciting. So I definitely enjoy podcasting. So happy to jump into the conversation today.
All right, great. So we had talked previously about the intersection of healthcare and data, as well as the complexity of analyzing that data. Where do you see healthcare industry getting the most benefit from deep diving into data and analytics?
First of all, I completely agree with you, right? More and more data is coming just because we're tech-enabled from all of our devices. So if we kind of look in the future, we surely see more data.
Yeah.
Right? We absolutely see more complexity because more data means more privacy regulations and to adhere to, right? We also know that interoperability, while it definitely is a work stream and a movement within the industry, is not fully there, and therefore the data is still all over the place, right? Yeah. So that's that landscape we're dealing with. More data, more regulations and complexity, not quite interoperable, right? So that creates a very kind of vast and big challenge, I think. And I think what happens in the industry is certain founders or companies tackle kind of different aspects of it and productize individual solutions.
Yeah.
Is that what you see as well?
Yeah, I do. And actually, you mentioned the interoperability, and I feel like they've made some inroads into trying to make sure that data can talk to each other, especially with like the CMS and with the Medicare and Medicaid aspects of it. But I feel like, there's still competition amongst the big EMR, EHR systems that makes it very difficult to look at data the same from different sources.
I agree with you. And also, I think sometimes it's just how they're set up and their data is just different. And just to map it and make it comparable is difficult. And it's also, you're not just mapping big EHRs, you're mapping all kinds of other data that exist, right? Plus, there is all kinds of unstructured data, and we can talk about that. And when we talk about AI, which we should, right? But
Yeah.
even with structured data alone, it's just so different and needs so much processing that it's quite a task. So we see in fragmented innovation in the category, and we see a lot of it. And sometimes I read about it, it's like, oh my God, this is so cool, right? And this cool is like everywhere. So I think to answer your question, what we're going to see is some convergence. And we're going to see some of these companies just kind of like uniting forces by merger and acquisition, and also by just, by the need to kind of take this little individual, sprouts of innovation that we see in healthcare and grow it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So coming from a product background, I'm very interested in your opinion on how people should think about productizing healthcare data.
So it's a great question. I think one of the best thing about product is the disciplined thinking that this work stream requires, right? And product people are trained to start with who's my user persona, right? Target persona, and what is their need? What are we trying to solve for? So I think sticking to this very basic premise is really a huge part of the answer, because all the data is doing is just trying to solve a given need.
Yeah.
What's your point of view?
Yeah, I agree. I think when I think about data and actually trying to, productize and then commercialize, that's two different things. But, you have to understand if the data is something that's unique in the market, unique to you, something that can be utilized within a product. So for instance, as an example from my background, we had a lot of data from our symptom checker on WebMD's site. And so we were able to utilize that to then, create additional products on the site that we could sponsor for cold and flu season.
Absolutely. And right then and there, you answering a distinct need. Cold and flu season is coming, and therefore you have a need for the symptom checker and the data to answer it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Very good. What do you think product managers should learn from data analytics? So not just the analytics, but the analysts themselves to correctly productize their healthcare data?
It's kind of an interesting question. When I just started working in data, I switched to data from a career in healthcare, in product marketing. When I switched to data, one of my biggest learnings was that data is like a living, breathing thing.
Yeah.
And until you work in data, you just don't quite understand what that means. But in reality, data changes constantly, because constantly, something else gets added, or maybe one of your partners did not give you their data on time. So they do a huge catch-up file, and wham, you have a lot more data and you're trying to figure out where from. So what I'm saying is data is very, very dynamic.
Yes.
And product thinking is more fundamental. So I think it's one of the challenges for the product people to understand that you are trying to productize a living thing to some degree. And that is a very kind of, I think everybody would say, oh yeah, I know what you mean. If they lived it, and if they haven't, they would reach that point and say, oh, okay, yeah, I get you. Have you had that experience?
Yeah, I think, it's the rule of the 80-20, right? 80% of the data is going to do exactly what you expect it to do. And 20% of the data is going to be like these abnormal data points, right? And so how much you normalize that data, or how much you allow that data to actually be living and breathing like you were talking about, is, I think, a challenge for someone like a product manager that's very rigid in rules and requirements and trying to make sense of those to, make a product worthy.
Oh, I agree. But I think worthy is a key word in this sentence, right? If the product is worthy, to the end user, to your target persona. The data, you will just have to work with the data scientists very closely to work out the data end of it. And I think that brings us to another conversation, meaning as a product person, if you're productizing data, you have to be this close to your data scientists to understand their challenges and to understand how they're dealing with this living, breathing item.
And I think too, if you're dealing with any kind of live data in particular, working with the analysts to try to figure out how to overcome any oops factors that happens with live data.
And it happens constantly.
Oh, right? Constantly. Yeah.
Agreed. And again, the more AI gets incorporated into the work streams, higher the chances are that you're going to have more live data and more of this oopses or, inevitable living aspects of data. And product people need to be aware, accepting, and have the workflows that allow them to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of AI, so AI and machine learning, obviously making big waves in a lot of industries, including healthcare. Where do you think it's going to make the biggest impact in healthcare, and what implications will this have on the type of data needed?
Oh, that's a great question. For sure, we all hope, well, our healthcare needs any help we can get, right? So we all have high hopes that AI is going to help it. So absolutely. I think some of the lower hanging fruit is operations, right? And healthcare operations, especially in the situations where the data is pretty structured. And it's pretty clean, and the AI is asked to process it faster, right? Be it analyze, be it, get the data ready and process faster. So that is absolutely one place where AI would help, right? One, two, there are interesting implications of AI in customer services. We can see patient chatbots, right? We can see some interesting examples of AI starting to take on interacting with impaired patients, right? So there's very interesting examples. We're also seeing examples of AI processing images and helping on that. But again, like we talked earlier, there are little sprouts of different innovation, and there are many of them, right? Because our healthcare is so vast. I think the challenge, though, is that there is a lot of data in healthcare that's not exactly structured, right? And not exactly clean. And while unstructured, generative AI will help dealing with that. So that's good, but not exactly clean. That is a big challenge that needs to be solved for, because if we're asking AI to process data and the input is not correct, well, not much AI can do, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the low-hanging fruit being in operations and more data that's structured. Where I think the future, if you will, of it is in a lot of the predictive analytics that's going on with like looking at blood films, looking at X-rays, looking at millions and millions of charts to see if they can find correlations between the imagery and the data to like discover things to investigate, I'll put it that way, and things to research in some of these maybe even rare diseases where we haven't had a lot of success in the past.
Oh, yeah, I'll build on that and would say images, unstructured data, voice files, right? Structured data. Eventually, AI will be able to process all that and give the picture of what's going on much faster, right? It is still upon the healthcare professionals to make sure that the data is clean and kind of ready for AI. So the way healthcare professionals, and by healthcare professionals, I don't necessarily only mean doctors, but anybody who works in healthcare, right? The tech people and the business people and the doctors understand that we will have to work differently and prepare our input for our AI team members, which we're going to have pretty fast too, right? We're already starting to see them, to be able to work to enable our AI team members to do what you were just talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So on that, where do you think the future of healthcare data and analytics will go from here?
Oh, none of us know the answer to this question, right? That's the honest answer, because AI is developing with a great speed. And that's great. And we just kind of have to be perpetual students and perpetual teachers in learning what's going on and teaching those around us, excuse me, on what AI is enabling us to do. I definitely see more data. Right. I definitely see the need for cleaner data. I definitely see, like we just discussed, the ability of AI to process many different sources of data fast. So that's amazing. And I also have a hope, and the hope is that all of that would contribute to our healthcare and make it more friendly to all of us, because we're all healthcare consumers.
Yes, exactly. All right, so I know you're currently working at AutoRemind. Can you tell us a bit about AutoRemind and what their mission is?
Absolutely. So AutoRemind is an independent small business that uses data products, so surprise, to help doctors, medical doctors, and veterinarians in practice automation, in patient communication, and in marketing their practices. So AutoRemind works globally and has a customer base of thousands of customers, and it's a great company for me to help to take their data products to the market and explain to the medical and veterinary professionals what they can do and how they can benefit from it.
Very good. So any last parting words to product managers out there on how to look at their data and analytics and put it into their products?
I would say stick to what matters in product management. Stick to your disciplined thinking. Stick to knowing your personas. Work very closely with the data team members and prepare for AI to change everything so fast that none of us know, and just hope that we can all contribute to a better future of this healthcare.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much for your time today, Elena. I really enjoyed our discussion on healthcare data and analytics and how to productize that. For more information on either Disrupt Health Tech or Twinning Strategy, please see the links below. Thank you for attending today, and see you next episode.
Thank you, Wendy. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. Remember, this is just one episode of a 6-part series, and each one will bring you closer to understanding the full picture of health tech innovation. You won't want to miss all 6. Please be sure to subscribe to Disrupt Health Tech so you don't miss a single episode of the series Building Health Tech from Concept to Care. Thank you so much for listening, and join us next time for more insights into the future of healthcare technology.